I would like to call this meeting to order. The clerk has advised that we do have quorum. Please join me in the national anthem. Members, please join me in observing a moment of silence and personal reflection. Thank you. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. For the benefit of those who are connected to the internet, the City Clerk has posted all of the agenda materials for today's meeting at toronto.ca/council. This meeting is being held as a hybrid meeting. Members of council, staff, candidates, and the public are participating in today's meeting remotely and in person, and the meeting is being streamed live on YouTube. I'd like to welcome the candidates and other members of the public who are with us here today and who are watching the meeting online. This special council meeting has been scheduled for the following purposes: to fill the vacancy in the offices of Councillor Ward 1, Etobicoke North, by considering and appointing a candidate to the office in accordance with the procedures adopted by City Council at its May 11th and 12th, 2022 meeting, and to introduce and enact a bylaw for this special meeting. Members of Council, this is a special meeting under Council's procedures. No other business item, such as notices of motion, may be introduced. This rule cannot be waived. Are there any declarations of interest? Okay, are there any petitions at this time? Okay. We will now review and confirm the order paper. Once the order paper has been approved by council, any change will need a 2/3 vote. We have one item before us today. Today's meeting must end by 7:30 p.m. in order to permit religious observance. All those in favor of adopting the order paper, please raise your hands. Any opposed? Carried. Members, I will now ask the Deputy Clerk to explain the process for today's meeting.
Members, City Council has adopted procedures for this meeting. These procedures were summarized in item CC 46.1 on the Ward 1 appointment and are the same procedures Council used at the special meeting for appointments to Wards 10 and 13. Each of the candidates that have been deemed satisfactory, who've completed a consent of nominee and an acknowledgement of qualification and provided personal identification that is deemed satisfactory, can address City Council for 5 minutes. Candidates may address Council in person or by video conference. The speaking order for the candidates will be determined by random draw. I will place the names of all candidates on equal-sized pieces of paper in a container and randomly draw the names. After each candidate has spoken, each member of council can ask the candidate one question. Members of council can speak if they wish once all candidates have spoken and all questions have been dealt with. After members of council have spoken, council will vote by ballot. I will review the balloting process with you at the appropriate time. Upon conclusion of the balloting, I will declare to be appointed the candidate receiving the votes of more than one-half of the number of members of council present and voting, or the candidate selected by lot in the event that two remaining candidates are tie. At the end of today's special meeting, City Council will enact a bylaw to confirm the appointment of the successful candidate to the office of Councillor Ward 1, Etobicoke North, for the remainder of the term of the present council. Members, item CC 46.1 lists the persons who have submitted nominations for Councillor Ward 1, Etobicoke North. The following persons have subsequently withdrawn their names from consideration: Francine Greaves, Mohammed Hussain, Rajesh Rajiaguru, and Michael Williams.
Members, we have item CC 46.1 before us. Councillor Holyday, you have a procedure motion on this matter. As the motion is lengthy, I will ask the clerk staff to display it on the screen.
Certainly, and good afternoon, Madam Speaker. I wish to move that the following persons who have signified in writing that they are legally qualified to hold the office of councillor and consented to accept the office if they are appointed to fill the vacancy of councillor Ward 1, Etobicoke North, shall be considered for appointment to fill such vacancy. And that list is displayed, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, if any, carried. Members, the deputy clerk will now draw the names of the candidates to determine a speaking order. And the clerk staff will post the speaking order online at toronto.ca/council, and the deputy clerk will read out the names of the first candidate.
Charles Ozoud. Denise Walcott. Edward Thompson. Carol Royer. Christopher Noor. Jatinder Rahul. Dev Narang. Anthony Melanson. Diane LaRose. Anand Dave. John Genser. Joe Martino. Rajesh Tiwari. Tahir Ahmed. Frank Acri. Abraham Abbey. Miguel Avila. Shah Bano. Andrew Borsick. Rosemary Bryan. Tyler Hurl. Madam Speaker, the first candidate to address council is Charles Ozoud.
Okay, Charles? You have 5 minutes.
Can I stand?
Okay?
Can I stand? Yes. Okay,
Yes, 5 minutes. Thank you.
all right. All right, so members of council, city staff, and fellow candidates, I'm a Ward 1 resident, but I'm also an immigrant. I moved here with my family from Nigeria, and my mom is sitting right there. And in 2016, I voted in the Ward 1 by-election after becoming a citizen. And now here I am, 6 short years later, seeking to be appointed into that same position. I've immersed myself in civic life such that I can see myself making decisions in Ward 1. However, do I see myself, a young immigrant, a Black man represented in this council? That's the question that I'm asking, and that's why I'm here today. Here's some stats. 1 in 2 Torontonians are racialized and are immigrants. And in Ward 1, 1 in 3 families are single parents, often female-led, just like mine was. Many live near the poverty line. So where is our representation in council then? Ward 1 residents are chronically beset by poor health, inadequate housing, and abysmal public transit. It's poverty by postal code. First, there's poverty of health. When the city released its COVID map, Ward 1 had the highest numbers. But I wasn't surprised, though, because I'm a health equity researcher at St. Michael's Hospital, just down the street there. It confirmed what I'd always known: health mirrors poverty. That same COVID map looks strikingly similar to the city's diabetes map, the unemployment map, and the map of transit poor areas. And the explanation is the social determinants of health. Second, there's poverty of housing. Toronto's housing market is heated. For many, their only choice is public housing, but it's become stigmatized due to neglect. But we can have beautiful public housing. In TCH buildings in Ward 1, many tenants are either racialized or Black. And in 2020, I worked at TCH to develop the Confronting Anti-Black Racism Strategy. A year later, they established the Center for Advancing the Interests of Black People. You got to talk about radical impact. And finally, there's a poverty of transit. In Ward 1, without a major subway route, no cycling network, and not able to afford a car or an Uber, moving around is hard. Finding or keeping a job, though, punishingly harder. And I would know that it was hard finding a good job in my community. When I did find one, though, downtown, the commute was agonizing. David Hochansky, professor at U of T, my alma mater, calls it disturbing in his 3 cities report. And I agree, because it steals time away from Ward 1 residents to build our community. It stagnates economic development and leaves us in a vicious cycle of poverty. And so in this interim role, I really see myself as a caretaker for ongoing projects. I'm going to collaborate and build personal relationships with all of you here, the council, to see that the much needed Finch West LRT work continues. And I'm going to work with the Board of Health, drawing from my research experience in health, using this experience for their ongoing efforts on vaccine equity in racialized and Black Torontonians. But COVID is showing us that diseases and public issues are neither just global nor local, they're glocal. I'm Canadian, yes, but I'm also cross-culturally savvy. I've got family and friends all around the world. I'm locally informed, yet globally conscious. And so when the FIFA World Cup rolls around, let's just say we need people here who actually call it football, not soccer. Yes. I volunteer with the Center for Social Innovation at the Annex and at Kensington Market, and previously at Regent Park. I've done community research and advocacy at barbershops and places from Marvin to the beaches to, I think I heard someone say Little Jamaica. I've been there. And to Jane and Finch. I'm an avid cyclist too. All of this is to say that I know and I love this city. But I've also seen trying times. A few years ago, I nearly lost my eyesight due to retinal detachment. But despite this, I've obtained a bachelor's and a master's degree. And at the peak of COVID, I co-founded an online arts program. I'm a member of Civic Action Emerging Leaders Network. I'm a member of the Black Professionals in Tech Network as well. All of this by the age of 30, mind you. I'm a living mural of resilience through adversity. Rough times showed me life's true meaning. its health, its cohesive relationships, its engaged communities, and that's my desire for Ward 1. And so, members of the council, representation matters. It does. Your vote today should not be taken lightly at all. It will signal a pivot from how community building was done in Ward 1 in times past. This is personally for me. I hope you all got the phone calls and the emails, so I want to thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Madam Speaker, the next candidate is Denise Walcott.
Okay, Denise, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you to the chair, Mayor Tory, members of council, for this opportunity to make my case and why I should be interim city council for Ward 1. I have a few reasons why I would be a great fit. First, I love this great city, which I'm sure everybody here does. Second, I have experience in a corporate environment in the marketing industry, and now owning two businesses in Toronto gives me the insight for different perspectives of people and who live in this great city. Third, I have volunteered within the Toronto community with charities and on a board. Charities like 416 Community Support Women and Scott Mission. I'm always committed to serving my community, as I think it's an important one. Volunteering on the board, I understand that I have to, I know how to write motions, write newsletters, how the process works in the board. I know I will be a caretaker for this interim position during this time. I'm committed to providing a thorough transition to the next duly elected councillor. I will work to continue the communication with residents in Ward 1 and keep the office running smoothly. That's all for me.
Oh, thank you. Do we have any questions? No? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, the next candidate is Edward Thompson.
Mr. Mayor, Madam Speaker, members of Toronto City Council, City Hall staff, and fellow candidates. My name is Edward Thompson, and I have applied to become the replacement councillor for Ward 1. I was born in Toronto at Women's College Hospital. Between 1974 and 1985, I lived in Mississauga and commuted to Toronto for secondary school at UTS and UCC. In 1985, my family moved to Warren Park, which is in the Humber Valley. One memory I have is of a house in Warren Park that had chickens and a rooster, which would provide an early morning wake-up call. It was a delightful bit of country in the city. I hold a BA in History and Anthropology from Trinity College, U of T, as well as a Master of Arts in Medieval Studies from U of T, and also all but dissertation for my doctoral thesis in Medieval Studies, and have been elected a Junior Fellow in the past at Massey College. I hold a Bachelor of Laws degree from Osgoode Hall and a sommelier certificate from Harvard College. At present, I work as a wine agent licensed by the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario. My company specializes in the sale of beverage alcohol to restaurants. As you should readily appreciate, the past 2 years have been extremely challenging for the hospitality industry, what with lockdowns, capacity restrictions, vaccine passports, staffing shortages, and supply chain issues. I believe that worse awaits in the fall, even without possible future lockdowns. You are no doubt aware of the recent increases in the cost of food and oil. This will be nothing as to what awaits Torontonians in the autumn. Fertilizer and seed are in short supply. Bee populations in Canada saw a significant reduction over the past winter, which will reduce crops. The increase in the cost of diesel has yet to work its way through the food supply. In the Far East, the rice crop has failed. The Ukraine is engulfed in a war which has cut off its grain exports. I've read reports online that over 90 food processing facilities in the United States are offline. Last month, a train carrying potash derailed in Alberta. Meanwhile, there is the specter of avian flu. The discovery of an infected bird results invariably in a mass cull. I do not know what the cycle threshold is for the PCR test for avian flu in Ontario, but given that at 35 cycles, the PCR test has a 97% false positive rate, there is the potential for an overreaction to this disease and a resultant shortage of chickens. I must note in passing that the current cycle threshold for SARS-CoV-2 in Ontario is 38 cycles. I would propose that Toronto's Urban Hens project be expanded to Ward 1 as well as to all other wards in the City of Toronto. If nothing is done, there is the very real possibility of food shortages, malnutrition, and the potential for civil disturbances. Should you want to see what the future might look like, search the web for recent videos out of Sri Lanka and Ecuador. Access to food is an inviolable right for all residents of the city. To prevent this, City Council must ensure there are no future lockdowns and have all societal institutions prepare for this immediately. I do not intend to run in the fall, and as I expect all my efforts to be devoted to attending to the needs of residents of Ward 1 as I live in Ward 2. This would result in an open election for Ward 1 in the fall. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. Are there any questions? No, I don't see any. Thank you very much.
Madam Speaker, the next candidate is Carol Royer.
Yes, please. It's on this side. Oh, I guess not. That's okay. Thank you.
Okay, Carol, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone, to the Chair, Mayor John Tory, and to a member of Council. Thank you very much for this opportunity to share with you why I would like you to consider me to fill the appointment of interim councillor for Ward 1, Etobicoke North. I have worked in government for many years at the provincial level in various ministries and agencies. I've worked directly with deputy ministers, assistant deputy ministers, and before leaving in 2019, I worked with the Fairness Commissioner. My community involvement began in early 2000 in Rexdale, where my family and I lived at the time. I ran an IT consulting business on Westmore Drive, and my daughters attended elementary, middle, and high school in Rexdale. Etobicoke holds a special place in my heart because it is one of the most vibrant and engaged community I've ever lived in. I have led several community initiatives where we engage with residents in low-income communities and provided those who were in need with fresh fruits, vegetables, and bread. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, we delivered hot meals and toiletries to seniors. The experiences I've gained over the years serving in various capacities and communities have helped shape my perspective on community involvement, leadership, and politics. I believe that regardless of what level of government I find myself in, my primary focus will always be on serving the people, and that is my lifelong commitment. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Madam Speaker, the next candidate is Christopher Noor.
Madam Speaker,
Okay. Thank you. You have 5 minutes, Christopher.
thank you. You're welcome. Mr. Mayor, City Council. My name is Chris Noor, and I'm running for the temporary position of City Councilor in Etobicoke Ward 1. I've been living in Etobicoke Ward 1 since 2012, and I know this committee very well. I started into the political field in 2010 when I started a political blog, and I had a zeal and a passion for politics. And some nights I wouldn't sleep. I would just go and just deal with issues in the city, in the province, in Canada, internationally. I just had a zeal for politics and helping people. I love politics, and I have a zeal for politics. I ran 3 times for city council in Etobicoke North, and I personally went to Etobicoke North these 3 times, to every home and every apartment. I went personally, right? I started attending a CPL meeting at Division 23, and we've been addressing most issues in the ward. Security issue, we have planning issues in the ward, events, and we also follow a budget. I want to talk about this issue first of all. We had a disaster in Ward 1 a few weeks ago, and there were trees all over the place. There were trees on cars, there was trees on home, and there was live wire on the streets and in the home. Now the police put up the police tape on the street at Red River. One car drove right through the tape, and there was a live wire sitting on the street at Redwater Drive for almost 2 days. So I was in the community all day, all week, talking to the resident, and that's what I'm saying. If we could work on having a quicker response to these issues, especially live wire. I addressed the issue I called the city hall here, and they diverted me to Hydro 1. This week, we had a stage 3 fire in Etobicoke North. I visited the place. And I would like to go in that community and talk to the business place there. And the fire chief said it was a stage 3 fire, and they got everything under control. Only 2 cars got burnt, and a gas tank went about 50 feet in the air and landed on a car. So I appreciate the fast response of the police and fire to containing this fire. I would like to propose extension LRT from Humber College to Woodbine area. If you're building more condo into the Woodbine area and the racetrack, that's a lot of people living in that area. There's 5,000, how much people. So I'm proposing if we could get funding from the federal government, we could get funding from the provincial government, we could land this, we could probably put the proposal there. This morning I called LRT Metrolinx, and I put a request. So we're living in Etobicoke North in the middle of the winter, and there's a snowstorm, and some bus stop is removed. So how could the pedestrian stand in the cold when you have a warning, a freeze warning? How could you stand in the cold minus 40 degrees? So I'm requesting to Metrolinx if they could work on either moving the bus shelter or a temporary bus shelter. I am also proposing the city that we use, most of the property, city property, should go towards affordable housing. Caretaker. Screening in the community, Jamestown, Mount Olive, in my community. If we have to turn this government housing into a gated community, if we have to have a caretaker there that people are going there, why are we taking people into Etobicoke North and they're not, they should be screened. And if they screen and you know who's living in the government housing, shouldn't you have the proper help?
Can you please wrap it up? You're over 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Speaker. In closing, improving the gun violence. If we could give advice to kids on every issue into the public system, why can't we give advice to kids on gun violence and gangs? So I am proposing after-school program like Jane and Finch, where you have gardening, after-school gardening. In the winter, take the kids, take the school bus and take the
Okay,
kids.
thank you, thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Do we have any questions? No? Okay, thank you. Next candidate.
Madam Speaker, the next candidate is Jatinder Rahul, and I believe they are appearing via video conference.
Okay, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Madam Chair, Mayor John Tory, and members of council. I appreciate you giving me the time and the opportunity to speak today about why I want to represent my ward and my qualifications. Just in the interest of time, I'm going to keep it pretty short. I know we have a lot of candidates today. I've been part of this community for the last 20 years, and I've seen it change for the positive, and I've seen it grow quite a bit. And I'd like to be part of that growth and that positive change in Ward 1, which is where I've mostly grown up and currently live. Most recently, I was out in my community speaking to residents about an issue regarding, a development that was happening in Ward 1 and just the impact that would happen to the residents in our community. And, seeing the feedback from our community, I was able to reach out to our counselor at the time, Michael Ford, and kind of get those concerns heard. In terms of my education, I've completed my undergrad at the University of Guelph Humber in Business, and most recently completed my master's at Schulich School of Business in Real Estate and Infrastructure, which I know are some topics that the city and its people are very vested in. And I'm happy to see that we're finally getting the much needed transit infrastructure in my ward, which has been long overdue. And I think I'd be a valuable member to be able to contribute to the important issues such as affordable housing and transit in my neighborhood. I understand this role is to be able to fill the position and finish the duties and responsibilities of our previous counselor, Michael Ford. And I'm confident that I'll be able to not only get up to date with all the items that are going to be discussed, but I'll also be able to be a valuable contributing member of council. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Madam Speaker, the next candidate is Dev Narang.
Okay, Deb, you have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, Madam Speaker, Mayor Tory, council members, and friends of Toronto. My name is Dev Narang, and I'm here as a candidate for the Toronto City Council. Before I start, I'd like to thank Mayor Tory and the council members for a great job done in protecting the citizens of the city as well as in nearby areas from COVID-19. I have seen in the past 2 years, it's been a very stressful time for all of us, especially in the first few months when the science was still evolving, and coming up with measures to ensure that the life of citizens is protected was a great requirement of our leaders, which this council and Mayor Tory have lived up to. I can very well understand what pressures you went through, because I was also a vice president and director of a large condo board in downtown. And we had major issues coming up from our residents whenever we used to speak out about closing amenities, etc. So it's great, the job that you've done, and I wish you the very best in times to come. Now let me speak about myself. As I said, my name is Dev Narang. I'm a mechanical engineer by education, and I have 30 plus years of corporate and business experience. I'm a supply chain management specialist, a planning and logistics specialist, and I have been working in machine upgrades at various companies that I've run for many years. I have 20 plus years of running small and large businesses, right from a number of people of 5 to a gross number of people of 6,500 at one point of time as CEO of various companies. I was also a part of a large apparels company, the number 1 in India and perhaps one of the largest in the world, with a $1 billion turnover, more than 100,000 people working, and we were supplying to garments to Gap, Abercrombie & Fitch, H&M, Marks & Spencer, and I've been to many countries in Europe and America and Asia to try and give presentations on behalf of the company, as I was a member of their core committee, in propagating our products and to enable customer service for them from our textile division. I was the head of the textile division. In Canada, I've run small businesses, and I had huge success in those businesses that within 3 years of coming to Canada, I was selected as one of the top 75 immigrants to Canada by RBC Toronto Star Group publication, Canadian Immigrant, in 2012. I'm an actor, a performer, a writer, a columnist for various newspapers, and also I contribute in a huge way to many visual media companies in Canada. My views are very well respected in the community, and that is why I'm regularly called for giving advice to people on social and political issues. I was also, as I said earlier, I was the vice president and founding director of a condo board in downtown Toronto, where I lived with 550 units. I was also the chair of the ACTRA AABB Council. I'm a member of ACTRA, and I was the chair of the ACTRA AABB Council, where I worked to protect the rights of the background actors. I was also the president of the Niagara Innkeepers Association. We had huge problems. The small businesses, the small motel owners in Niagara Falls had huge problems in terms of taxes, in terms of the way they were treated by various agencies. And I worked for those businesses with the community, with the Mayor Jim Diodati and the council, where I made a presentation with the police and various agencies to protect the rights and to ensure a better working for our small business owners in Niagara Falls. I'm totally committed to working for this council, and I feel that with my intelligence, with my analytical abilities, and with the strength of this council, the months are only 4. There are only 4 months for this period. But I think 4 months are also important, are enough if we want to bring true change. So what is my vision? What are my priorities? My first vision and first goal is going to be, I come from a customer service background. So my first vision and goal is going to be a customer service manager, a representative on behalf of the city to the residents of the area. I'm going to be responsible to the residents of the area. I'm going to be reachable by them at all times, night and day, because that I used to run hotels, and there I had to get up at 3 o'clock to serve my customers. I would like to give as best possible services to my residents as possible. The second goal is to work with this council as a team member to ensure that the projects which are on discussion, we are able to work with them, and I can provide analytical and intelligent inputs for that. I know there are not many things I can do on my own, but if I have a time available, there are just 2 projects that I want to work on. One is to build United Colors of Toronto, for which I mean reduce hate and ensure that all communities work together and come together. And the second is to ensure that the businesses are developed. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the time, and thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Do we have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Madam Speaker, the next candidate is Anthony Melanson.
Anthony, you have 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council, everybody in the stands. My name is Anthony Melanson, and I am 43 years of age. I am here today to present my case to Toronto City Council on why I should be nominated to the position of Ward 1 Councillor at Etobicoke North. I feel there are several reasons to support my application to be councillor. I want to advocate for and help people in Ward 1. I like problem-solving different municipal issues. I like reading reports, attending meetings from the past. I see being as a councillor as a platform to help people in different ways. If I was to be a councillor in Ward 1, that would be the place, because I have a history going back to the 1990s in the area. As a child, I moved there at Islington in 401. I attended high school at Monsignor Percy Johnson, and my doctor is still there from 1997 to 22 at Kipling and Rexdale. So I feel connected and understand Ward 1 more than any ward in the city of Toronto. My next strongest point would be, as councillor, would be my passion about transit file. I have researched many environmental assessments related to proposed transportation or infrastructure-related projects at the Old Affairs Library at the Metro Hall building there. So I'm a little bit ahead of the times on the transportation files, and I feel I can provide value inside as they come up on the agenda items. like Scarborough got derailed. It should never have went up to Young, Don Mills and Eglinton. That should have went to Scarborough Town Center. It would have made everything better. But anyways, we only got the 5 minutes. So yeah, new ward, Transit Ward 1 is the Finch LRT and a proposal for the Go Woodbine Highway 27 station. So those are good times for Toronto. So yeah, I'm highly knowledgeable in transit-related items, and it would be the strongest way I can contribute. There's other developments in the area, the Woodbine Racetrack, the new development at Rexdale and Islington provides a new Costco and retail stores. There's the development at the old Labatt factory south on Islington there. So there'll be new retail choices, employment opportunities, and rapid transit on the horizon for Ward 1 resident. Another strong point for me is my previous experience. I worked on the Toronto Community Housing Council 25 from 2007 to 2009. I was elected in a by-election to the Toronto Housing Council 25 to represent my community. We worked on building issues, community kitchens, and library redevelopment. Furthermore, I was one of 4 members of the council selected to attend the 2008 Ottawa Housing Conference. So I understand council decorum, following agenda, speaking in turn, whatnot. I am a supporter of the Toronto Poverty Reduction Strategy. Ward 1 is diverse in culture and financial makeup. I would thrive in this area as I grew up in diversity, like my years at Monsignor Johnson were a diverse, positive experience. Diversity extends to music. I listen to that, and I create my own music, singing and writing. So music is universal and acts as a bridge to connect different cultures. In closing, I am confident in my ability to perform the duties of councillor. I feel that my history in the area, my life experiences, my transportation expertise, and my previous experience working on the Housing Council have all prepared me to take on the role of temporary councillor. I could also use the time to gain valuable insight into the role of a Toronto City Councillor, even if it's only for 5 months. I want to help and advocate on behalf of the citizens of Ward 1. The structure and function of the council is a great platform to do so. If selected, it would be a privilege and an honor to represent the community of Ward 1 and to work with Toronto City Council going forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Madam Speaker, the next candidate is Diane LaRose, and I believe they are participating via video conference.
Good afternoon, members of council, mayor, and Madam Speaker. I'd like to thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you today on my behalf to be nominated for Ward 1. This unique opportunity will allow me to be even more present within my community. Recently, I have volunteered my time to become more active and advocate for the members of my community. It is much more than just a ward. We are a group of people with heart that want to live healthy, happy lives. And within that need, within the wants of my community, I can see on a daily basis. Working within the community also allows me the opportunity to speak with people within my community and hear what it is that they'd like to say. Excuse me. Living in Etobicoke has been a great experience, and I would not change it, and I would continue to live in Etobicoke. And I would like to be able to be a voice for the people who live within my community. I understand that this position is for a short period, and I do understand that there are pending documents and pending items that need to be reviewed and need to be addressed, and I will work diligently with the members here as a team member to get those issues from the past dealt with, while listening to the community members and what their current needs may be. I'd like to do this and work together with the members within the community and City Council and be active advocate and a voice. Etobicoke has challenges. We've seen that through COVID. We've seen our essential workers face daily challenges by having to go to work and be stuck on transit that's not reliable during COVID. We've seen changes that I never thought that I would have seen in my lifetime, and we've had to adapt. And I believe that this position will allow me to be adaptable in a way that would contribute to the members of community. We came together during COVID, and we've shown that together we can achieve much more than if we do it separately. The community in Etobicoke does have specific needs. It has been known as a priority neighborhood. And those are terms that I'd like to see extinguished. They're not necessarily a priority in a negative sense. They're just areas that need a larger voice, someone who may be able to isolate the individualities and put them together in a way that can benefit all the people that live in that community. When I walk down the street to go to one of the occasional early childhood educational jobs that I hold currently with the Toronto Catholic School Board, I see just on the street beside me things within the environment that need to be tended to. We need to address these health issues within our environment to maintain the now COVID-ridden area, hopefully for a very long time. I see it on the TTC. I see it when I am driving with my husband, all the needs that are there within our community. I have volunteered my time at St. Augustine After School Program. I have worked with the Catholic Women's League at St. Gregory's and was also a member of the council there. I'd like to also let the council know that I volunteer, I'm sorry about that. I'd like to let the council know that I am appreciative of this opportunity to speak, that this opportunity is very unique, and that I look forward to being able to be a contributing member to my community. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Madam Speaker, the next candidate is Adnan Dave.
Okay, Anand, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. I can have a seat?
Yes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Speaker, Mayor Mr. John Tory, and the fellow councillors. My name is Anand Dev, and I was an immigrant from India. I arrived in Kerala back in 2011. Currently, I am 40 years old, and I want to apply for the appointment of the councillor because I just tell you a little bit about myself. I'm not a politician, and I hear other candidates as well that I don't have much experience like them as well. But as you see my profile, that I go to 3 universities, out of that 2 is from USA. I have a doctorate degree in IT, but I do not finish my thesis. And currently I'm working as a precarious employment in Amazon, Canada. I'm also a member of Ontario Society for Professional Engineers, as well as Professional Engineers Ontario, but I never work as a such. So why I want to be appointed as a council member? So currently I'm working as a part-time gig worker as well, and I noticed that city helping gig workers with the new bylaws as well. But I want to address that when you're working as a gig worker, there are a lot of problems we are facing as a gig worker, that we get tickets, a lot of tickets from City Parking Authority. There is no parking place for the gig workers, as well as anywhere we go is like there is no help from government. We apply for that union as well, but there is no union for the gig worker. And currently, I'm here to work as a councillor if I am appointed for Ward 1 Etobicoke North, because where I live, I notice that people are struggling with food cost, gas prices, and rent increase. The apartment I live before as a rent, I rent in the apartment, they have a lot of problems for the renters because we're paying the old rents, and they just give you a hard time because they want to move us out. So I appreciate if you can appoint me as a councillor, because I also come across one problem when I go to hospital 2 days ago. I have to wait in emergency for almost 8 hours for my son who get fever. 8 hours for 5 years old son. There is only one doctor, and the doctor say, what can I do? I have 60 patients and I have to go back and forth. I also noticed that there are so many parks in Etobicoke Ward 1 North which are underdeveloped. I noticed that in the night, there is no lights there. People have bad activities going there. I report to city, but there is no action taken. So I appreciate that if you can appoint me as a counselor, I don't put you down. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Madam Speaker, the next candidate is John Genser.
Okay, John, you have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon. It's great that we can finally be back here together again. COVID was really tough on everyone. And I want to say thank you to the councilors for stepping up to that enormous challenge. I also want to say to my fellow candidates today, thank you for stepping up for democracy and the betterment of Toronto. My name is John Genser. I put my name forward to replace the outgoing Michael Ford, who's moved on to service at the provincial level. Etobicoke means a lot to me. I grew up next door on Goldsboro Road with my brothers and sisters. I went to Graysdale Public School. I played hockey at Habitton Arena, and I spent many a summer days at Roundtree Mills Provincial Park. I started my career at Holt Renfrew and Company on Humberline, and I've spent the past 25 years working for Woodbine, where I can walk to work from the condo next door. There are big shoes to fill in Ward 1. The people of Etobicoke have enjoyed some great representation from members over the years. When I ran as a Liberal candidate in 1985 against Ed Phillip, a lot of people that I ran across during the canvassing were not necessarily supporters of the NDP, but Ed was going to be there for them, and they really loved that. Rob Ford carried on that tradition, and his brother Doug is doing that as well. So there are some big shoes to fill in Ward 1. The main reason I'm running here today and going to be running in the fall is we're going to be facing significant challenges, the inflation, the global fight against it, and the biggest thing we can do as a city is deliver a budget that's going to be really as easy as it can be on the people. So, as people have pointed out, people are facing high gas prices, high food costs, so condo fees are going up. So if we can come up with a budget that is easier on the people, doesn't have too much of an impact, then we'll do a lot of good for them. One of the things that I want to say also is my approach. As candidates, you know you get a lot of calls from groups who want to talk to you about positions that are important to them. When I ran in '85, one of the great conversations I had was with the president of the Amalgamated Transit Workers. And at the end of the conversation, I agreed that I would support the white line on the TTC buses, but I would have back-to-work legislation ready before their picket signs were dry. So at the end of it, he said, thank you. You know, there are so many candidates who don't talk to us. They put us off to a lawyer. They put us off to the party. And he said, even though we disagree on the back-to-work legislation, he said, because you talk to us, when you show up at a TTC worker's door, they're going to take your sign. And they definitely did. And that's the way I approach things. It's communication, communication, communication. We'll find that ground to move forward. So if you choose me, that's the approach I bring. And I'll also help find every penny's value for money in the budget for the people of Etobicoke. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Madam Speaker, the next candidate is Joe Martino, and I believe they are participating via video conference.
Thank you very much. I'd like to say thank you to City Council and the Mayor for this opportunity to speak today, and to all the people that are watching on video or WebEx, whatever it is. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Joe Martino. I am currently the trustee for Toronto Catholic District School Board in Ward 1 for over 40 years. I have lived and worked in North Etobicoke for over 40 years and continue to do so. It has been my pleasure to serve and resolve issues for constituents of North Etobicoke in my capacity as a local trustee for many families and individuals, public or Catholic. I am very respectful when it comes to everyone's opinions and direction, which gives me a better understanding of next steps to help and resolve matters of contention. I have had the opportunity to work with the community and the City of Toronto to make a difference for people in this great city, along with North Etobicoke. You know, we've dealt with daycares, property, youth schools, bylaws, and many other projects that are of common interest and will always continue to do so. It will be an honor to serve as councillor for the remainder of this term. Attributes that I'd like you to consider, if you can, and I have a very good knowledge of Robert's rules, a great understanding of code of conduct, issues related to conflict of interest, have had many meetings and discussions with all levels of government on a host of related and non-related school board issues in the ward and the city. Discussions with many ethnic groups on different matters. As we well know, this is a very diverse community. My leadership roles, I've been chair of the board for 4 years, 2021, the last 2 years, which have been a real tough 2 years, but we got through it. Chair and vice chair of most standing committees during my 30+ years. Have passed and recommended budgets of over $1 billion per year. In the past, I've also been involved with negotiations with our union partners. So it gives me a bit of an insight on what goes on, whether it's in our meetings or your meetings, or things that we both have to deal with. So I thank you very much. I've made it as short as possible, and look forward and hope to be considered for this great opportunity for whatever period of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any, Mayor Tory, questions?
Yes, I wondered if I could ask Mr. Martino. I should be familiar with the law, but I'm just not. Others may in this room know. What is the requirement with respect to your continued service or not as a trustee, and what are your intentions in that regard?
I would have to step away from that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Which I intend to do. I would resign from that position for the remainder of the term.
Okay, and I guess I just don't recall whether you said or not. You would have would you have an intention to seek the council seat on a permanent basis?
No, I would not. I would not. No.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next candidate.
The next candidate is Rajesh Tiwari.
Okay, you have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, Madam Speaker, Mayor John Tory, and all the council members and the candidate participating here today. My name is Rajesh Tiwari, and in short, it's Raj Tiwari. And thank you for allowing me to share my thought on this position and why I am interested in becoming a city councillor. I've been a resident of Ward 1 since 1990. Prior to this, I was living in Stony Creek. I have voluntarily served various communities' positions in and around the Ward 1 area. That has allowed me to interact with the residents of this ward. I considered myself to be an integral part of the community, and I know what their basic needs are. This position will help them in well-informed and strategic manner. As well, we all know that Toronto is not only the largest city, it also represents vast diversity through immigration, yet I see that ethnic representation is lacking when it comes to the city, province, or federal positions. This lack of ethnicities could be due to lack of community interest or lack of knowledge about how to get started. I am interested in building this bridge that will help us fill this gap due to my vast community involvement and the knowledge of other ethnic languages. I find myself to be the best candidate for this position, and it would be my pleasure to be the bridge that connects. I thank you all for your time and consideration. Looking forward to serving my own ward, Ward 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Madam Speaker, the next candidate is Tahir Ahmad.
Okay, you have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, everybody. The question should be raised why I will be the councillor for Etobicoke North Ward 1. The answer is very simple. There are few facts. Those are on the city record as well. Example, in year 2014, the election for the Toronto District School Board, the residents and the parents of the Etobicoke North approached me to run the election for the Toronto District School Board trustee because they were thinking that I was the person who can solve their issues and concerns for their kids. On those days, I was one of the busiest physicians in Ontario. More than 10,000 families used to come to my office every year. Average was more than 50 patients per day. Sometime I used to see in a period of 12 hours, 70, 75 patients. At that time, I was doing research on different ailments and submitted to Health Canada. Health Canada has approved my 74 formulas so far. As I was very busy, but cannot refuse to the community. Luckily, just one day or few hours before deadline, young, energetic man decided to run as school board of trustee. As I said, I was very much busy with patients and welfare work for the residents of the Etobicoke North. I requested the people to support him. At that time, 8 people were running the election. I became on the 3rd position and got approximately 3,000 votes, exactly 2,934 votes. Now I am retired from my business and spending most of the time to help the people because Etobicoke North is very much multicultural city. A lot of new immigrants are coming to Etobicoke and have their English language problem. I always help them 24/7 days a week. I do their family counseling, find the doctor for them, and sometime going with them to translate to their doctors. I always listen their domestic issue and try to find a job for them. Especially in COVID-19, lot of people went through in depression. I have given the lectures on different issues and mental health. And I have the record in Canada, the longest health programs or lectures till 2018. Due to COVID, I discontinue on Rogers Cable because I'm not able to go into the studios. Sometimes people approach me and inform me that their small issues like their small street has potholes and damage their cars and tires, or sometimes different kind of issues. I always call the city and register the complaints. that is, should be on the city record. Nowadays, the biggest issue we are facing street and gun violence and break-ins their houses and cars. If I become a city councillor, then with the help of our police and public to serve these issues. Many times I help police station of 23 Division, police constables, they come to my place and asking, and because we install different places, the cameras, and we provide them the videos. Nowadays, working as a spiritual healer in Etobicoke General Hospital, and several times the Etobicoke Hospital, I was affiliated with the
Can you please wrap it up, please? You're over 5 minutes.
to help the ICU people, those are suffering with the difficult problems, and I go there and help them to pray for them. They are requesting for that. Last but not least, I am the board of director of a couple of housing buildings, and there is some, our mayor knows about this. I'm the member of that community 3001 Finch Avenue. And
Thank
that
you.
year, last year we got the first prize in the city of Toronto. Thank you very much, and God bless all of you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Any questions? No? Thank you very much.
Madam Speaker, the next candidate is Frank Acri. Frank Acri. Okay, the next candidate is Abraham Abbey.
Good afternoon.
Good
Madam Chair.
afternoon. Thank you. You have 5 minutes.
I'm good. Thank you. I'm Mary Torrey. My name is Abraham Abbey. I'd like to sit down. I came to Canada 1989, and I want to suggest that anyone who comes as immigrant should seek to volunteer. I volunteer. When I came here, I used to live with my family at Regent Park, and people asked me, why do you live there? And I told them, right in the corner where you are. We form what is called focus community, and I get involved for drug issue. And I pose a challenge to the politicians, and I have a copy here. Regent Park was a place that nobody wants to live there, and I gave this, and then they gave this as a good vibration. I said, Regent Park needs a new chapter to make a headway in our image. Stop calling Regent Park a dog. Give us a reputation, it will become a mainstream. Now, if you go to Regent Park, everybody wants to live there. You know, I've been a volunteer at Residence Community as a part of board of directors for 6 years now. And I have been very pragmatic. About 4 years ago, some lady who has some mental issue attacked a Mayman, and they stopped delivering the mail for almost a month. I wrote a letter, got some signatures. I came to Jonker. That we have a security man in the building. Why don't the security man shadow the mailman and deliver the mails so that people can get their mails? This suggestion is still in force today, which makes me one of the persons who can manage issues. And I want to say this. In 1992, when I lived in Regent Park, people come and park their car at our parking lot. We, as a council of residents, suggested to Metro Housing to issue us with a sticker. And then they said they would charge us, maybe $10. Now the sticker is adopted by Metro Housing, and people are coming to me asking me. I told 4 years ago, Greg Spence, to at least give preference to, how do you call it, old people and people with disability. I suffer from tibia. I was locked down by a car in 1970, so I can't walk. During the winter, I feel so pain in walking. So I talked to that, look, this idea of people charging residents $50 to park their car is wrong. And that, so he came and made some place for us so that I can, but the thing is that it's not me alone. I'm speaking for the people of Etobicoke One, that they need service. This metro housing charging $50, having a car in Canada is not a luxury, it's a necessity for people who can't walk, who can't go and park their car. Now they are trying to reduce the charges. I want to tell you that charging people who are supposed to live in affordable housing is wrong, and we have to do something about it. This is the chance I have to let you know that what is happening in metro housing, which is supposed to be affordable housing, is not growing. It has to stop. I have a diploma in community worker, a human service counselor. I have just earned my master's degree from York University as interdisciplinary studies. I'm the right person. People come to me to ask for help. There's a guy who came because they took his hydro. He asked me to connect. I said, no, because I'm an instrument technologist when I came to Canada. I said, look, I'll write a letter for you. And I called the letter social contract. I said, I have a copy of the letter here. But then the letter for 2016 worked because Hydro came and reconnected his Hydro and pay off his debt so that he can have, light in his apartment. This makes me much pragmatic person who can manage this position effectively. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? No, thank you very much. No. Ready? No, nobody has any questions. Thank you. I don't see
Madam
any.
Speaker, the next candidate is Miguel Avila.
Well, I do have a lot of questions.
You have 5 minutes.
I know, thank you. All right, let's see. Can you hold my time? I'm trying to turn on my computer, my laptop. All right, so good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming at City Hall and apply for the position of Ward 1. As you know, this is an important item because many of you will have to sit at the Police Services Board. You know that? So, in the matter of time, to save your time, let's be real. The chances of getting nominated is next to zero for me. Just look at me. Oh, my luck. So I nominate Councilor Shirley Carroll to replace Michael Ford because we need people with experience for continuity until a successor is found. My good friends, Derek Moran and Chris Langerfeld, who is running for mayor, will agree with me to nominate Shirley for the position of direct board member for the Police Services Board. But let's have fun. My name is Miguel, and I live in Regent Park. I am applying for the position of Ward 1 until a successor is found. I live for 10 months at 121 Kellyton Drive at TCAC building. For the record, I'm familiar with 23rd Division and Superintendent Ron Taberner, a close friend of Doug Ford, who is a favorite to be the next chief of police, I heard in the grapevine. So Miguel, you live in Regent Park, why you wanna run for Ward 1? Well, you see, I have a story to tell. Since 2010, I have applied 4 times for the seat at the TPS board. Running for Ward 1 perhaps is another door opportunity to participate at the Police Services Board, as I have extensive experience since 2010. Remember, nothing about us without us. Michael Ford's performance at the board has been very poor. The city appointments need to make changes to allow voices of the indigenous communities. My sister Tiffany Kawe has applied several times at Aboriginal Affairs Advisory Committee. And I asked Councilor Layton to make a motion to allow Sister Tiffany to be included if they believe in truth and reconciliation. Nothing has happened yet. Friends, instead of tackling the roots of violence, that is poverty and trauma and other factors, we are seeing an increase in prison and police budgets. We have said over and over and over, divesting the police and transfer 50% to the housing stock will create a better opportunities for us residents of Toronto. So I've been saying this forever. Defund the police, 50% to address the issues of poverty and gun violence. No children should be carrying a gun at age of 14 years old. That is a system, that is a symptom that the system has failed our poor people of this city. I can't believe that at this time I'm hearing young kids with guns at 14 years of age. I have a son who lives in Councilor Michael Thompson's ward, and I'm concerned about him. He lives with his mom, he lives in extreme poverty, and many of his friends are in the same condition. His school was in the news in February when a shooting happened, and another kid shoot and kill another kid. That's shameful. We are not addressing the issues of gun violence, which is poverty, time and time again. We have repeated at this city council for the last 12 years, but no one listening. However, my community of Regent Park, is the overhead on? Hold on. All right, so my community of Regent Park is taking matters to address some of the issues of poverty, which is trauma. So see, now we are trying to deal with our youth who have been victimized, criminalized, and they need to solve these problems with a therapist. So that is one of the ways to deal with our gun violence in this city of Toronto. That Ford does not care about raising the minimum wages or ODSP. We are tired of the Band-Aid solutions. We heard that Doug Ford has invested $300 million in the Police Services Board, but when it comes to housing, he owes money. He's not coming to the table so that we can build more housing for our homeless people. 40% of them are indigenous, and it's a shame. Thank you so much.
Can you please wrap it up? Thank you. Do we have any questions? No, thank you.
Madam Speaker, the next candidate is Shah Bano.
Okay, Shaw, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shabano, and I'm here to ask you for your support for the Ward 1 councillor position. I would like to share the role that I would play as a councillor for the next few months in Ward 1. I understand that this is a caretaker role, and therefore I will do my best to provide all the necessary support needed to ensure that the next councillor would have a smooth transition into the role. As an interim council, I will support the excellent work done by former councillor Michael Ford in Ward 1, including the transit project, the Glinton West LRT extension, which is almost done, and the Finch West LRT. Projects regarding the economic growth of Ward 1, such as the Regal Plaza construction, the spectacular industrial space at 1330 Martin Grove Road, the infrastructure improvement projects such as the Pine Point Arena, the 2 new secondary school projects in Etobicoke North supported by Ontario government, and the support provided to the Toronto taxi industry by the city. I will also add value in a supporting way to the work of mayor and city council. Lastly, I will lay out some local issues for the new Ward 1 councillor that focuses on the voices of community members, especially the vulnerable, to consider in the new term of council, such as defunding the police and reinvesting that money in community services and social programming. I will also provide support to the Emery Village BIA and Albion Islington BIA to ensure that restaurants and small businesses are getting all the support needed to run smoothly and stay in businesses, because we have seen a lot of small businesses impacted during COVID. All these efforts will build public trust and confidence in our municipal government. I would also like to mention that I will not be participating in the upcoming municipal election in any ward. I will now share some information about myself. I came to Canada on 1st March 2013 with my family when I was 17 years old. I lived in a rental building near Islington and Dixon for 6 years, which is also known as a ghetto by many due to high crime rates and activities. I completed my grade 12 from Don Bosco Catholic Secondary School, which is notorious for the shooting of 2 high school students in 2015, which led to the closing of school in 2017 due to low enrollment rates. I completed my bachelor's from Humber College in International Development Studies, and I completed my master's in International Development Studies as well. Right now, I'm living at Kipling and Finch, where a lot of construction is going on due to the Finch LRT, and a lot of small businesses are being impacted as well. And I think based on my educational and residential history, I think it's fair to say that Ward 1 is my home and my community. And every time I hear someone say it's a ghetto or a refugee area or stuff like that and other derogatory terms, I feel personally attacked. My involvement with my community started in high school when I had to complete my community volunteer hours, 40 of them in grade 12, since that's when I started. I ended up doing 120 hours in 1 year because I absolutely love doing community work. In 2018, I was awarded Volunteer of the Year award by my college for my community services. Community development is at the core of all the work that I do, and I absolutely love it, and it would be an honor for me to serve at the council. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Candidate is Andrew Borsick, and I believe they are participating via video conference.
Andrew?
Hi.
Hi, Andrew?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hi.
You have 5 minutes.
Okay. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mayor John Tory, for this opportunity. My name is Andrew Borsick. I've lived in the city of Toronto my entire life, particularly here in Etobicoke. I would say, like many of you, I know this city and my community like the back of my hand. What I really love about the city is its undeniable vibrancy in terms of the arts and culture, and its true representation of what it means to be multicultural in our modern age, where we celebrate differences instead of hiding them. For the past 8 years, I've worked as a real estate agent in the city, where I've held strong personal initiatives in connecting marginalized folks within our communities to attainable housing. I've gotten to see firsthand what people want when it comes to choosing a community to live in, concerns about school, accessibility, and safety, and I would love to bring this knowledge to my role as a city councillor. Prior to working in real estate, I attended York University and graduated with a bachelor's in communications. During this time, I also worked with a number of grassroots community initiatives, one of which being the coordinator for promoting new artists at a community radio station. I've also considered myself to be a very approachable person, and I think approachability is very important when it comes to government. People should always feel like my door is open when it comes to concerns about our community. The city of Toronto has given me so much, and I feel like it's my time to give back to the city, and I cannot think of a better way than holding a position of public office. I hope that I can have both council's support and blessing this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker, the next candidate is Rosemary Bryan.
Okay, Rosemary, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, it's awesome to be here. Good afternoon, Mayor John Tory, Speaker Nunziata, and members of the council. My name is Rosemary Bryan, and today I am honored to be one of the 25 candidates being considered to fill the vacancy for City Councilor in Etobicoke North. I am a longtime resident. It is a community that I care deeply about. I come to you as a single mother, a divorced mother, a married woman, a former victim of spousal abuse, a TTC rider, a driver, a pedestrian. I represent minorities, Canadians, and immigrants. Now I could add to the list, mother of the bride. I represent families living in Toronto, community housing, as well as homeowners. I represent small business owners. I represent a strong woman who is not defined by her past or her current situation. I say all this to say, I understand people and the various situations that they go through. For the next few minutes, I would like to take this opportunity to show members of the council why I am a strong choice to fill the position of interim councilor. I bring value to the council because of my past experiences and partnerships with various community groups, including Toronto Police Services 23 Division. I have worked in the community for the past 20 years. I currently work for the Salvation Army on a full-time basis as their Community and Family Service Manager and Pathway of Hope Coordinator. Within my role, I operate the food bank. I see roughly between 20 and 30 families a day, 3 days a week. I organize our annual toy drive, Thanksgiving dinners, and other community activities and special events. I understand the issues in our community. Issues such as housing, shelters, gun violence, gangs, and even helping our newcomers to adjust. I have sat on various boards. My children's school as a president for the Parent Advisory Committee, Rexdale Women's Center. I am a member of the Rotary Club. Etobicoke Cluster, which has 40 agencies from around Etobicoke. I am the secretary for the Etobicoke Strategy, which is a group of faith leaders. Rexdale Outreach Choir, it's made up of students in the community. Toronto Police Service Youth Planning Committee. I am very passionate about people and helping others. I have always had a close working relationship with representatives from all 3 levels of government in Etobicoke North, including former Councillor Michael Ford, Premier and MPP Doug Ford, and MP Kirsty Duncan, all of whom I'm very fortunate to call them great friends. Awards I've received includes 2014 Woman of Excellence for my service for over 20 years of volunteering. 2018, I received an award for outstanding community service and women leadership in the community. And 2020, I received the award, Spirit of Etobicoke Award, presented by the Premier of Ontario, Premier Doug Ford. My former supervisor once joked about me by saying, Rose hardly leaves Etobicoke. She lives, works, and breathes and shops there. And this is true. Reason being, North Etobicoke has its own entities. We have our own hospital, entertainment, Woodbine Racetrack, Vanity Fair, schools, parks, banking, various food banks, bike trails, scenic sites, various houses of worships or temples, shopping malls, college, community centers, drop-in centers that has food festivals, job fairs, and multicultural events. We have our rehab center, women's shelters, youth shelters, our own ice rink, fitness center, Planet Fitness, our own newspaper company, Etobicoke Guardian, new immigrant centers, Dr. Flea Market. We have Bolorama, we have libraries, and we have our own movie theaters. The good thing about Etobicoke, everything is just in walking distance. Today, I'm asking for your vote for the remainder of this term. I want to continue to serve my community and leave a dent by impacting people around me. I often tell my children, and I brought my daughter with me today, but I often say, everywhere you go, seek to make that difference. We sing a song in church that says, if I can help somebody, then my living won't be in vain. Once again, thank you for your time and consideration in this matter, and I promise I won't disappoint. Mayor John Tory, Speaker Nunziata, and members of the council, it has been a pleasure to meet you and to spend this time with you all. God bless.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Any questions? No? Thank you very much.
Madam Speaker, the next candidate is Tyler Hurl.
Tyler, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. I first it's pronounced Hurley. I'm a licensed electrician. I worked in the automation industry mostly. I did normal construction through my apprenticeship, but I spent a lot of time as lead design. I spent a lot of time reviewing engineering specs for quotes as a normal day. I'm familiar with basic law. I mean, the code book, electrical book is law. I'm not as well versed as someone with a law degree, but I'm not completely green on the side of reading law. I also worked 4 years for Via Rail, again, more transit laws and compliances and forms and such like that. Both in construction and the railroad, I was foreman. I became a relief supervisor while at Via Rail. Part of my role, when I started at Via Rail, they asked me to rebuild their stock levels on their electrical parts, and through my experience in automation, I noticed the prices we were paying were above list. Anybody could walk in and buy. So I called suppliers and I asked why these prices, and they had a legit reason that they had to fill out a couple hours of paperwork to be able to sell parts to the government. I reviewed all this and I found that it was unnecessary for suppliers to be doing this because, I mean, the parts were just being replaced from, like, an engineer had put the parts in the first place, and we were just buying replacements. So I advocated to the Minister of Transportation at the time, and I explained it to him, and eventually the law did get changed that the suppliers did not need to do this paperwork, and we saved perhaps millions of dollars a year for the federal government. I have no real plans to change anything in Ward 1. I'm just looking to be a steward for the 5 months and gain experience in City Council. And as an electrician, there's not much about the mechanics or the maintenance of the city that would really surprise me. I think with my general understanding of law and the workings of the city, I think I would be a good fit for a short-term council position just to keep the ball rolling forward. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
To ensure that all candidates have the opportunity to address City Council, the Deputy Clerk will call out the names of the candidates who have not spoken yet in the event they have joined the meeting.
Madam Speaker, there's just one, Frank Acri.
No? Okay, thank you. Do any members of council wish to speak at this time? Please put your name under request to speak. Mr. Holliday.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It was under the review order paper column, but I just appreciate a very quick moment to say a couple of words. I am the representative for Etobicoke Centre, Ward 2, but Etobicoke North, Ward 1 is very much near and dear to my heart and the heart of my community, because our community in Etobicoke just doesn't stop at the line drawn on the map. And I smiled a lot because a lot of the places and locations and stories that people talked about today are part of my personal history with family in that area and frequently visiting Etobicoke North. But I also make the note as well, as being the adjacent councillor, I share 8.75 kilometers of border. So I look forward to working with whomever this council selects. But the most important thing I wanted to say is it's not an easy decision that we will make as council. But everyone that spoke today has my utmost and deep respect. There are 20 people that came out and talked to us today and put on display their personal self and very much their personal passion for their community. Every one of them spoke about it, how they wanted to make their city a better place and their community a better place. And I know it's a difficult choice for council to choose one. It does give me great hope and civic pride about the engagement of people in their community. And if I can wish anything amongst everyone else that doesn't get chosen today, is that please continue in your community service in whatever way you see fit, whether it's through volunteering with an association or on a committee or in a faith group. Everything that you do makes a difference. So, Madam Speaker, I'm going to do something really unusual, which is turn away from the speaker, because I really just wanted to face all of the people here today and smile and say thank you for coming out and being part of the democratic process. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Holliday. Do we have any further speakers? Okay, members of council, I will now ask, oh, sorry, Mayor Tory.
I just wanted to say, Deputy Mayor Holliday gave my speech, so there's no point in my repeating it. But, you know, what a pleasure, seriously, for us to listen to people who are so interested in their community and have such interesting backgrounds of all existing community contributions. So thank you. These are difficult things. I sort of did say, some days you might wonder why anybody would put their name forward for this, but, you know, the fact that you're also involved in your community explains it. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. So members of council, I will now ask the deputy clerk to instruct you on the balloting process.
We will now proceed to the balloting for appointment to the office of Councillor for Ward 1, Etobicoke North. Council will use the same hybrid balloting procedures it used in the previous appointments for Wards 10 and 13. These procedures are outlined in the report before council. Once balloting begins, members must remain in their location. All members of council will vote by ballot. Members who are present in the chamber will be issued a paper ballot at their seat. Members of council who are participating remotely will be placed in a video conference breakout room, one at a time, in alphabetical order. Members will be asked to consent to me casting their vote by proxy. Members will then instruct me on how to mark their paper ballot. Once all members present in the meeting have cast their ballot, I will advise the speaker to call for a brief recess so that I may tally the results. Once the meeting resumes, I will advise council of the results. If the candidate who receives the greatest number of votes cast receives the votes of more than 1/2 of the number of members of council present and voting, I will declare the candidate to be appointed. If the nominee with the most votes does not receive the votes of a majority of the members present, council will conduct another round of voting. The next ballot will exclude the nominees with the fewest votes and any nominee with no votes. Balloting will continue in this way until the candidate receiving the most votes also receives the majority of votes. If only 2 nominees remain and the votes for the 2 remaining nominees are tied, I will select the appointee by drawing a name by lot. Members in the chamber, please mark your paper ballot by placing an X to the right of the candidate of your choice. Please mark your ballot clearly and legibly. If I cannot determine your intention for any reason, including your handwriting, your ballot will be spoiled and not counted. Members who are participating remotely, I will seek your instructions on marking the ballot once we're in the video conference breakout room. Members, you may only vote for one candidate. If you vote for more than one candidate, your ballot will be spoiled and your vote will not be counted. All members present must vote. If you do not vote for a candidate, your ballot will be spoiled. Secret ballots are prohibited by law. Members present in the chamber, you must print your name and sign your ballot in the space provided. If you do not print your name and sign your ballot will be spoiled and your vote will not be counted. For those members participating remotely, I will print your name on your ballot and I will sign the ballot having completed it on your instructions in the video conference breakout room. Members in the chamber, when you are finished voting, please fold your ballot in half and place it on the ledge in front of your desk for collection. We will collect the ballots when all members in the chamber have finished voting. Members, the voting process is about to begin. We have a number of members participating remotely today, so I ask for your patience while we conduct voting. Members who are participating remotely, if I can ask that you turn your cameras on for the balloting process so that I know you are present for the vote, that would be very helpful and help move things along a bit more quickly. We'll try to give you a heads up when you are next in line to be placed into the breakout rooms. Thank you.
Okay, this meeting is now resumed. Council is considering item CC 46.1 on the appointment to fill a vacancy in the office of Ward 1, Etobicoke North. The deputy clerk will now announce the results of the first ballot.
Members, I have the results of the first ballot for appointment to Ward 1, Etobicoke North. There were 23 ballots cast. The number of votes required to appoint is 12. There were no spoiled or illegal ballots. The votes for candidates are as follows. Rosemary Bryan, 21. Tyler Hurley, 1. Charles Ozoud, 1. I will now read the names of the members casting votes for each of the candidates. The votes from each ballot will also be reproduced in the minutes of this meeting. Votes for candidate Rosemary Bryan. Councillor Paul Ainsley. Councillor Anna Bailao. Councillor Brad Bradford. Councillor Buxton Potts. Councillor Carroll. Councillor Cole. Councillor Crawford. Councillor Fillion. Councillor Holliday. Councillor Lai. Councillor Layton. Councillor Mantis. Councillor McKelvey. Councillor Mahevic. Councillor Nunziata. Councillor Pasternak. Councillor Perks. Councillor Perruzza. Councillor Robinson. Councillor Thompson. Mayor Tory. For candidate Tyler Hurley, Deputy Mayor Min Wong. For candidate Charles Ozoud, Councillor Matlow. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, I declare that Rosemary Bryan is appointed as councillor for Ward 1, Etobicoke North for the remainder of the term of council.
Thank you, and on behalf of City Council, I would like to congratulate Rosemary Bryan on being appointed to the office of Councillor for Ward 1. I would also like to thank all the candidates who participated in the appointment process. Mayor Tory, I understand you have a motion to appoint the new councillor for Ward 1 to committees.
I do, Speaker, and I'll add my congratulations to Rosemary. I move that City Council appoint Rosemary Bryan to the following such appointments to take effect on the date that Rosemary Bryan takes office as councillor for Ward 1, Etobicoke North. A, the Audit Committee for a term of office until November 14th, 2022, or until a successor is appointed, and B, the Economic and Community Development Committee for a term of office until November 14th, 2022, and until a successor is appointed.
All those in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, if any, carried. And in addition to these appointments that Mayor Tory just moved, the new councillor will also be a member of the Etobicoke York Community Council by virtue of office. So Rosemary, I'm looking forward to sitting with you on Monday at the Etobicoke York Community Council. Thank you. Okay, this meeting is now adjourned. Oh, hold on, I have the bills. Oh, I threw everything up, okay. Okay, Mayor Tory, we have to move the bills. Okay. Members, the city clerk. Okay, if I can have members just take their seats just for a minute, please. Councillor Holliday, Councillor Bradford. Just for one moment, we just have one other thing to do. So the members of city clerk will arrange for the new member for Ward 1 to take the declaration of office at the earliest opportunity. Once a member has taken the declaration of office, the member can officially take their seat on council. May I have a motion to introduce a bill on the appointment? Councillor Bradford.
Madam Speaker. That leave be granted to introduce Bill 576.
Shall leave be granted to introduce this bill? All those in favor? Opposed, if any, carried. Shall this bill be passed and declared as a bylaw? All those in favor? Opposed, if any, carried. Are there any absentees? Okay, we do have an absentee, so if I can have, Councilor Mihevik, can you move the absentee?
Yes, move that the absence of Councilor
Fletcher
Fletcher
and Councilor Grimes.
Be excused. As per the
Okay.
motion.
All those in favor? Opposed, if any, carried. May I have a motion to introduce a confirming bill? Mayor Tory?
I believe it says to move to confirm all acts up until the, on all proceedings of council up until this, oh, there it is up there. Now you're assuming I can read it that far away. That leave be given to introduce a bill that confirms to the point of the, to the point of the introduction of this motion, the proceedings of City Council meeting 40, what is that number? 46 on June 24th, 2022. I know that.
Shall leave be granted to introduce this bill? All those in favor? Opposed, if any, carried. Shall this bill be passed and declared as a bylaw? All those in favor? Show of hands. Opposed, if any, carried. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you and have a nice weekend.
Thanks, Madam Speaker. Thanks, Senator.